Like, why did God send prophets to humanity? He sent prophets to humanity to tell them something, right? They're called anbiya, right? They convey a message, right? When the message has been conveyed, then a person can conceal the truth. But when a message has not been conveyed, or it's been conveyed in a way that's not sound, there's nothing for them to cover because they haven't been informed. So, for example, if you tell me it's raining, and I go, I either agree with you or I don't agree with you. If I agree with you, but I don't want you to know that, I'll say, no, it's not. That's kufr. I've covered the truth. But if you say to me, if you come up to me and you go, why did you disbelieve in the fact that it was raining? And I go, you never told me it was raining. I'm not covering up anything. I don't know what you're talking about. I might think it's a sunny day outside. Am I at fault for that? Yeah, it's not true, but am I at fault for that? That's the difference, right?
Someone who knows, for example, because Allah sends down a messenger, and then there's people who ridicule the messenger,
yeah.
And there's going to be people who follow the messenger,
yeah.
Right? So the people who ridicule, okay, this person's trying to tell us what we should be doing, so it's on the straight path or whatever. That they don't want to, whether because maybe they're arrogant or
right, whatever reasons.
Just typically whatever, something not good. So they would be kufr.
Yeah. That's kufr.
Because they know, they might know, okay, this is a sound message, but I don't want to do it because I don't want to give away my money, or I don't want to
That's exactly why the Quraysh, the tribe of the Prophet, peace upon him, they rejected him because they didn't want to give up their lifestyle.
Yeah, they knew the message was sound and it was a good path to go.
Yep.
But they didn't, they didn't want to give to charity or have to
Nah.
pray 100 days.
None of that. But more importantly, they didn't want to give up the idolatry because that's how they made their money. Mecca was a tourist.
So egotistical, material reason. But they knew, he was known as the trustworthy one.
Yeah.
So
they had no reason to disbelieve him.
Yeah.
But they just when he called them to do something, for example, had he just prayed himself, they would never they would leave him alone. But when he called them to action and to stop doing things, they had a problem because it meant they had to change their lifestyle, even though they knew their lifestyle was kind of messed up.
So my question is a kufr someone who literally knows what they should be doing, but refuses to do it for whatever other reason?
That's a kafir. A kafir is someone who knows and is just going to do something else.
Like a hypocrite.
No. Hypocrite is different. A hypocrite is someone who pretends like he believes, but he really doesn't. He's also a kafir, yes, but I'm saying, but he presents the idea that he's with you, but he's not. And the reason why that happened is because when the Muslims went to Medina, now there's benefit to be a Muslim. There's benefits now. If I'm a Muslim, then you'll do business with me, you'll trade with me, I'll have your protection. So, I believe, but on the inside, could care less whether or not Islam succeeds or fails. Yeah. So he says, في قلب إنساني والشيطان الإنسي يأتي الشيطان على صورة صديق لك يحسن لك القبيح حتى يجرك إليه. So the shaitan from amongst people now, this shaitan comes to you in the form of a friend, someone you confide in, a sadiq, someone you confide in, and he beautifies that which is ugly for you. And he pulls you towards it. So something which you and he both know are wrong. He doesn't want to be, for example, alone in what he's doing, so he likes to give you the idea that it's actually a good thing. For example, he's having a bad day, decides he wants to smoke crack. Comes to you and he's like, "Come on, man, don't leave me. You, I know it's bad, but you don't want to leave me by myself." How are you going to leave me by myself in this? I thought we were bosom buddies. We're we did the thing. We cut our fingers and we did the blood. We're blood brothers now. Right? What has he done? He's made something which is ugly, beautiful. No, if you do this, then we're really brothers now. We both have the same condition. You don't want to leave me by myself. سورة ثاني السورة الأولى ما ذكر فيها وما ذكر فيها إلا اسم واحد. Now here's two surahs. This is an interesting part. This is the end of Tafsir. He says there are two surahs. The first surah there is mentioned one name. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ مِنْ شَرِّ مَا خَلَقَ وَمِنْ شَرِّ غَاسِقٍ إِذَا وَقَبَ. There's one name mentioned, which is what? One name of Allah. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ. I seek refuge in the Rabb of the dawn. One name is mentioned. How many evils come after it? مِنْ أَسْمَاءِ اللَّهِ. So there's one name from the name of Allah. Names of Allah. وَاسْتَعِيذُ بِذَلِكَ الْإِسْمِ مِنْ شُرُورٍ كَثِيرًا. And by that one name, many refuge from many evils is sought. بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ. الرب فقط من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب ومن شر النفثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد. وهذه سورة ذكر فيها ثلاثة أسماء. Now this one in Surah al-Naas, there are 3 names of God mentioned. And how many things are we seeking refuge from? Well, listen. وهذه سورة ذكر فيها ثلاثة أسماء من أسماء الله. 3 names from God's names. الرب, رب الناس. الملك, ملك الناس. Ilah, which is Allah. So you have the Lord, you have the King, and you have the God of human beings. واستئذان من شر واحد. And you're seeking refuge from one thing. It's just one thing. 3 names for one thing. In Surah al Falaq, you have one name for many things. In Surah al-Nas, 3 names from one thing. أربعة شرور. There's 4 evils mentioned. استعاذ منها باسم واحد. 4 things, one name as a refuge. والشر واحد استئذان بثلاثة أسماء. And then in this surah, again, Surah al-Nas, the opposite is happening. لأن الشرور التي في سورة المتقدمة شرور دنيوية. The reason why this is, Shaykh Ibrahim says, is because the evil that happens in the previous surah are all evils that are related to the world. They're dunyawi evils. They're evils that are related to the world of this life, the life of this world. مضرتها في الدنيا فقط. And its harm is only in this world. والشر في هذه السورة شر ديني. And the evil that is in this surah is a religious evil. فلهذا صار الاهتمام به أولى من غيره. And for that reason, the importance and the focus and the attention that is in it is more intense than the previous ones. من غيره فاستجرت باسم الرب باسم الملك باسم الله تطلب سلامة من شر الشيطان فقط. And you're going to use the names of God, the names Ar-Rabb, the names Al-Malik, and the name Allah itself. The name Allah is so intense because the name Allah comprises every other name. So basically what you did is you said, قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ. You're seeking Allah, refuge in Allah with the name Rabb. You're seeking refuge in Allah with the name Malik, and then you're going to go ahead and use all the other 99 names. Because Allah points to all the 99. You want peace from the evil of shaitan only. You just want to have peace. You're using everything you got to have peace from one thing. Assalamu alaikum. Hey, I'm in a Tafsir class with everybody at Lighthouse Masjid. We're reading from Bai's Tafsir. Yeah, hold on. Everyone say Assalamu alaikum. Yusuf, say Assalamu alaikum. This is Brother Yusuf. He's in Chicago. He says salams to you. I gotta go, man.
Alright, bro.
Alright, so.
I'll talk to you later.
Okay, assalamu alaikum. وأيضا ذكر في هذه السورة رب الناس. And also in this surah he mentions the Lord of people. ذكر الناس ثلاث مرات. He says Nas, he says humanity 3 times. رب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس لأن الإنسان له أطوار. And the reason why Allah mentions human beings 3 times is because humans have 3 different modes or stages or groupings. Banu Adam ثلاثة أقسام. The son of man, the son of Adam is of three types. صِغَارٌ يَحْتَاجُونَ لِتَرْبِيَةِ. The first one is the child who needs to be brought up. He needs to have an upbringing. وَشَبَانْ أَقْوِيَاءُ يَحْتَاجُونَ لِمَلِكٍ يَسُوسُهُم. And then you have youth who are strong and they need someone to give them a foundation, to ground them. They need a king to ground them. وَكِبْرِيَاءُ إِبَادٌ رَجَعُوا إِلَى اللَّهِ يَفْتَرِكُونَ إِلَى إِلَهٍ يَعْبُدُونَ. And then you have elders. These are the slaves of God who have returned to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they're impoverished towards Him, and they need Him. They need Him to worship Him. فذكر في سورة أنه رب الناس. And He mentioned, Allah Ta'ala mentioned that He is the Lord of people. الصبي الصغير لا تخفى عليه فإن له ربا يربيه. And so therefore the child, the little one, is not to be feared on because they have someone to bring them up. Now also realize this, Allah is not just talking about children. He's talking about people who are immature in their spirituality as well. You have people that are 45, 50 years old who are children in their spirituality. They literally they're literally toddlers. And they do everything that toddlers do, including go in their pants. They can't help it. They're kids. They make terrible spiritual blunders because they're not developed inside. No problem. There's a Rabb who's going to bring them up in tarbiyah. ملك الناس الشاب القوي طاغي لا يجتبر فإن له ملكا جبارا وهو الله تبارك وتعالى. And then you have for the one who is, you can say, in the prime of their life, or in the prime of the spiritual life even, they're strong, but they're also rebellious. They're rebellious. They're strong, they have power, and now they can start to do things. Right? They're not going to compel other people. Why? Because they have a Lord, they have a king who's going to be a compeller upon them. In other words, He gives them a foundation. He brings them. In other words, you and I mess up a lot in the prime of our life. We have a lot of ability, we have a lot of power, and we make a lot of mistakes, and that's why we get smacked down hard. You don't see, Allah doesn't do that to old people, for example. Old people, you don't see them, generally speaking, unless they have some need inside. Allah is very kind and merciful to them. But for young people in their middle age, you hear crazy stories, how they became Muslim, for example. Oh man, all right, I was driving in this car, and I was going to sell this weed, right? And I was on the way, and I lost control of the vehicle. Next thing I know, I was flying out of the car, right? I went through the windshield, and when I woke up, I was in front of the car, and there was a cop in front of me. And before I went out of the windshield, my friend had an Arabic calligraphy. It said La ilaha illallah. That was the last thing I remember seeing before I flew out the window. So I actually became a Muslim because that's the last thing that I saw and the last thing that I remembered, and it's the first thing I thought about when I came to, or whatever. That's based on a true story that actually happened to someone, and they'll remain anonymous. But it's true. Allah wouldn't do that to a kid. You don't hear that much because they wouldn't even be able to benefit from all of that so much. And for older people, it's just, in other words, He's the Rabb. He's the Malik also. So He says, then He says here, Ilahun Nas, the God of people. Now the Shaykh mentioned something very, very beautiful. And he says that this is manifested, the God of human beings is made a reality to people. By way, he says, Al-Shaykh al-Kabir, الذي رجع إلى الله يعبده يعلم أن له إله يستحق الإبادة. That it's through or this is in the case of a person who has realized their old age. They've realized their old age. They've come into old age, whether it be in physically or whether it be in spirituality. They realize, I am the slave of God.